Welcome in to My Two Bits. This is First Bites. Tonight, we're looking at the rapid reaction of our Florida Gators versus Florida West. Yes, the Aggies of Texas A&M. I am your host, Mr. Randy, along with my other host, Ben. Ben, how are you feeling, my man?
I mean, as expected. Does that about sum it up for you?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think this is pretty much what we saw coming from, honestly, pretty far away on this one. Despite any or all kind of preconceived notions about this team that may or may not have delivered prior to the season starting and then after the season started and so on and so forth. I think you and I saw this outcome coming a long way off. You can go back and listen to a pod we did back in early August, I think, and we called this one. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, maybe not quite as lopsided as we thought it might be, but we did not like this matchup. We have not liked this matchup. It just didn't ever bode well for us. So, um, I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I wouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed because we showed some promise and then we didn't deliver on it. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is what I thought we would see here ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of is what it is. There were some surprises though in a few different ways that we'll obviously talk about. So I don't know. How about you? How you
Yeah.
feeling?
Um, well, it's funny because I feel like all the scoring got out of the way in the first quarter. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look
Mm-hmm.
at all the offensive output, I'm talking about on our end, the offensive output on our end. It's
Well,
a
yeah,
shame
we
we
scored
couldn't
three
sustain
points
it.
the rest of the game. We scored three
Yeah,
points the rest of the game.
it's an
So
absolute
yeah,
shame we could not
yeah.
sustain it. It's an absolute shame we could not get any rhythm or tempo. It's an absolute shame that it seems like we have a shanty town held together with duct tape, paper clips, and chewing gum for an offensive line.
Oh
It
yeah,
is
man.
just absolutely disappointing. So anyways, let's get into it. With First Bites, we're keeping it concise, nice and simple. So, like our regular show and our focus on factual analysis and all things Florida Gator football, yes, we're going to make it as accurate as we possibly can, citing our sources whenever we use them. And tonight, as usual, all statistical data coming from ESPN. Thank you very much. Looking at the box score. Now let's get into our opening point. High level game summary. B. What else do you have outside of your little soliloquy there to begin with?
Yeah. So obviously first quarter surprise, right? So for if you watch the game, I don't think anybody had 28 points scored in less than 12 minutes in the first quarter in this game on their bingo card. I sure didn't. That was absolutely a shock to me to see both offenses absolutely explode, both defenses looking like they didn't know which way was up to start this game. That was surprising. Did not see that coming at all. And then obviously things kind of settled down. Obviously, unfortunately, A&M gets one more touchdown before we kind of figured our things out and our way around them. But ultimately, we settle in on both sides moving forward there, and it becomes the defensive grind that we thought it would be, of course, until the waning seconds there, or well, at least midway through the fourth quarter, I guess, maybe not quite waning seconds, but um, becomes much more of a defensive struggle. Obviously, I think that when you look at after that first touchdown early in the second until you get into what the mid third, there's like what 6 points scored, or I'm sorry, mid fourth, there's 6 points scored until that touchdown. That's pretty wild. Six total points scored. That's a pretty crazy break from the start. So, very different games from the start of the first, or most of the first to the bulk of the second and third quarters, and even into the fourth. Right. Interesting and again, not unexpected. That's more of what we thought we would get here in this game. I think. Um, Ultimately, obviously, we came up short in a lot of different ways. But there were some surprises for me in terms of some of the things that we did see overall with this team. Offensive line, I thought we saw a step forward last week. Clearly, uh, maybe not. I don't know what else to say. We got cooked on the offensive line. First drive, second drive, even third drive, even looked fine, and then all of a sudden it was like they figured out, oh well, we can just speed rush you and you're done. And yeah, well, I'll have more thoughts on that later, but offensive line was just
Hmm.
very, very underwhelming again in this game. Could not hold up, could not protect. Reminded me a lot of Miami. We'll see if we can get some
Yep.
pressure stat data like we did for that game, because wow, we don't have that yet. But really, really, really underwhelming offensive line, as you already alluded to, play in this game, and that was very disappointing for me, because I really thought that we, hopefully had turned a corner there with this O line in what we saw against Texas, and that obviously is not the case. So that's going to spell problems if we can't, figure that. I say spell problems. We're 2-4, so there's already problems, but but it's going to spell more problems if we can't figure that out as we move forward here and get that play to be, significantly better than it is. And I don't really know how you fix some of it, because some of it was just, we just got outclassed, honestly, in terms of the talent level and play that we saw on the field, which was surprising to me, because I don't feel like we've necessarily seen that, especially out of one player in particular that I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, high level, I think that's really maybe my main point. That and a lack of pass rush, which, we saw
Yeah.
that come on last week, and then we see it just vanish this week for the most part. I do think, obviously, now that does make a little more sense when you look at the quality of offensive lines here. This is an established, much more competent offensive line here versus a, you know kind of patchwork quilt transfer setup that we were working with against last week in Texas. This is a 5 returning starter offensive line, one of the few we'll play all season. So I'm not as surprised by that. The O line play really surprised me on our side. That's what I would say. So what are your high level takeaways?
Yeah. Don't we also have a host returning on the offensive line?
Oh
Hmm.
well, yes we do.
Yeah.
Yes we do. But you
Oh,
wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know
it's
it.
it's interesting how much they differ. I want to say Florida West
Mm-hmm.
has one line coach, one offensive line coach. We have two. Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm. I think it might
Apparently,
make.
apparently we need 3 or 4.
I, I think it makes sense to reallocate those resources. Yeah, no, it
Agreed.
be at the end of the day,
Reallocate a lot of resources, buddy.
that is correct, sir. Yeah, I really didn't expect for a good old fashioned Big Ten shootout in the first quarter. That was kind of wild. Um, so there was
Yeah.
that. I did not expect us to go. Yes, we know that Elko is very good. He plays a lot of chess. He makes adjustments, but to the tune of only scoring 3 more points the rest of the game is just utterly
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's wild.
Um,
It's wild.
at the end of the day, did we think we could win this game? No, we had it as a loss. But when you saw how the first quarter ended, and as well, and for that matter, the first half, because remember, they only scored
Yeah.
that one touchdown in the second. So you're going into halftime and it's 21-14. You're feeling good. And then you come out of third quarter and you're like, oh, okay,
Yep. Force it.
it's
Force the three and
it's
out. Get the ball.
24-17,
Yep.
right? And it's like,
Yep.
okay, you get a great stop to start the third. You come to, you hold them to a field goal. Obviously, we are just held to a field goal. And it's the start of the fourth quarter and going like, all we need is a breakout play. All we need is some rhythm. All we need is a little bit of momentum, some mojo, whatever the case might be. And it never came. It never came.
Nope.
Just
Even after a
unbelievable.
turnover and then a drive that you get, going after the turnover, and then it just
Yes.
stalls out once again, and it just I don't even know. I don't even know. Yeah.
I really thought after that first quarter that we would take some of that momentum. And I really thought that the way that we showed up at Death Valley a few weeks ago is how we would take the same tone here. And for whatever reason, it just seemed like our energy was after that first quarter, that was almost like playing a whole game. And the energy was different. The body language was different. It was just unreal. Unreal. So it's just a shame. This team this year, I have nicknamed it, and I'm going to coin it. These are the bipolar 2025 Florida Gators. That's it.
Yeah, it appears so. It appears so
It's
for sure.
up, down, left, right, sideways, backways, byways, fourthways, and fiveways, whatever Willy Wonka else would say. Okay, let's look at some key stats, B. What are your key stats? I know we got a lot of them, but what are your key stats for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to try and keep these pretty short and sweet. I think the two that I'm going to throw, or well, I guess it's kind of I guess it's three, but I'll take two defensively and one offensively here. So the two
Okay.
defensively are 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss, which is, I mean, wow, that's not great. Even though you had 71 tackles as a team, 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss. Once again, I mean, that's just not going to get it done. I understand how maybe you don't get a lot of sacks on Reed with his mobility and his shiftiness. Even if you don't get, I don't know about any, but one or two, but 0 tackles for loss. Wow, that's not good. That means you're just not getting any push defensively on the line, right? We're not breaking through, we're not getting in there. That's terrible, honestly. And then the next one, offensively speaking, is 1 for 10 on third down.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
the only time we went for it on fourth down, we're 0 for 1 in context. Uh, so yeah, 10% third down conversion, almost pulled another offer, almost.
Almost.
Um,
Almost.
it was close. It was close. Thank you, Trey, for catching that pass and getting us a third down there. Nice throw by
Ah,
DJ on that conversion, by the way.
yeah,
One of his
sure.
better throws of the night. But ultimately, 1 for 10 on third down, combined with very little ability to slow them down. I won't give their third down stat as well, but it was above 50. So ultimately, you know, you can't you can't negatively impact them defensively, and then offensively, your ability to stay on the field on third down is
Hmm.
virtually non-existent. When you combine once again those two things, you put yourself in a position where, yeah, it's going to be really hard to win the game. It's going to be really hard to win the game. Um, when we were moving the ball and scoring early in the first, it's the reason we didn't, impact that number is because we didn't have third downs because we were moving the
Hmm.
ball so well. We were getting firsts on firsts and firsts on seconds and stuff like that throughout those drives, and that's why that didn't really impact it. But ultimately, you can't have stats like that and win against a team like this.
No.
That's as good as they are defensively. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, those are my key stats. What do you got?
First of all, great key stats. You really can't. I mean, when you look at, I know we've been through this before, where certain stats don't really tell the full story of the game, but unfortunately, these do. And my key stat, believe it or not, has to be the 1 for 10 on third down. You come into an
Yeah,
environment like this, and you see the crowd, 105,000, whatever the case might be, towel waving people like that. You just have to do something on third down to move the football. You absolutely have to. I don't care if it's 37%, 40, 40. I'm not saying that you need to come in there and go 75%, 60% on third down. That'd be nice. That'd be really nice. I'd be scratching my head even more if we did that. But to go 1 for 10, like you said, almost pull it over, absolutely unacceptable. The sack, the sack number or lack thereof, because there aren't any. I said this to you in text, and I'll say it again. I've said it before. Where's Tyreek Sapp?
yeah,
Where in the world is Tyreek Sapp? Where in the world is George Gunn? Now we know George banged up a
yeah.
little. Where in the world
Where's
is
George Gums?
right?
Where's George Gums? Honestly, because that's been as much of a disappointment to me as anything. Sap at least came out last week. Gums still wasn't there. George
Gums
has been
right.
non-existent, man.
Is he banged up? Is he? I mean, what's the deal? What's the
I
deal?
don't know.
No idea. Zero. Nothing to atone for, and it's not getting any better at all.
No,
So you've got those two things because at the end of the day, first downs were almost even, 19-15. That is what it is, right? Totally right. But then the other one, the last one I'm going to point to, last one, rushing yards.
Yeah.
Big discrepancy there by over
Yeah.
100, a buck 83 to 74. And
Yeah.
again, A&M, well balanced team, a lot of elements, but I mean, it's not like we're putting freshmen in. Like literally, a freshman team
No.
versus a JV or varsity team. We have talent. Oh boy, still frustrating.
Yep.
Anyways,
I hear you.
moving on.
Moving on.
Impact play. Be impact play. What would that be?
My impact play is actually going to go, unfortunately, to the fumble by Vernell Brown. 3rd and 18, I believe, something in that neighborhood. We threw a
Mm-hmm.
bubble screen out there to him to try and just pick up a few yards before we punt, which I'm fine with for the record. That's an area where I do not mind the bubble screen. Right, don't risk the turnover. You're down 7. Um, let's move the ball up a little bit. Give Tommy a little room to punt. Live to fight another day, and we catch a fumble along the sideline. Uh, that's a killer. Now, kudos to the defense for holding them to the field goal despite giving up the ball at our own 30. That's phenomenal for them to do that and only give up the field goal. However,
Mm-hmm.
you turn a potential, if the defense goes out and stops them in the same approximate number of plays, right, and yardage, they're punting if we punted first, but we didn't. So they got points, and that made it a 2-score game. And that kind of changed the whole complexion, right? That gave them the 24 there. We gifted them that field goal. They don't get that field goal without it. And then all of a sudden it's 21-17 when we get our field goal without it. So that's a huge impact. Don't underestimate the impact of that game, of that play, right? Because then we're a touchdown from leading instead of a touchdown from tying, and psychologically that is different as a team. I'm not saying it changes the outcome of the game. Ultimately, that drive they went on to start the fourth quarter was a backbreaker, and I don't know that doesn't happen anyway. But at the end of the day, um, psychologically, right, things change in that situation, in that scenario, right? Um, so it is interesting if you keep it 7 versus going down 2 scores in that scenario, and that fumble caused that. So for me, that's your impact play. What do you got?
Very good impact play. I was vacillating between that one and a couple other ones, but I think the one that I'm gonna key in on, believe it or not, is Doman's punt, and more specifically, the punt that
Which
he
one?
had to
Because we had
the
6
punt.
of them. So
Yeah, the punt that he had to re-kick because of the flag. And with
mm-hmm.
that second one was, and here's the thing, A&M knew what Elko knew what he was doing. You're like, oh yeah, re-kick, sure. I'm gonna back you up a little bit further. You're in your end zone. Yeah, good luck with that. And it was not. It was a terrible kick. And
Yeah, it
I
was.
agree.
It was.
Tommy has had some boomers this year, but he's had more duds than boomers.
I would agree. I would
Big,
agree. He's been very
big
inconsistent.
shoe. Yeah, a big shoe to fill. I get it, but at the end of the day, it needs to be better. But this is a position, just like we talked about last week in special teams, the impact that it has. This is a position, and he has a unique opportunity to make a mark, to excel at that. Right? Like you only have one job. He literally only has one job. Okay,
Yep.
I'm
And
gonna leave
his
that there.
stuff, his stuff when he tries to pin inside the 20 is great, but
Yeah.
there when he's trying to boom one, it's very hit or miss, and more miss than hit. Um, I will say this: I would have really liked to see that face mask that got called on any kind of replay. Nope. So we won't get any info on that one, folks.
Not at all.
Great work on the broadcast crew on that one. Not even a
Not at all.
hint of what happened on that penalty. We have no earthly idea if that was a good call, bad call, nothing. We got nothing. That was terrible broadcasting, ESPN. Terrible. Shame on you. You should at least give us a replay of what happened. Bad
Is
form.
that Is that like
Bad form.
LeVar Burton? You don't have to take his word for it. But anyways,
I guess so. because we're taking somebody's word for it because we can't evaluate that call in any shape, manner, or form. Moving along, what do you got next?
Player of the game, B. Who's your player of the game?
Yeah, impact. No, now, not player of the game. Impact player of the game. And mine is not going to be a good one. This is the first time I've chosen to go this way, but I don't have a choice in this game. My impact player of the game is none other than Mr. 58, Austin Barber.
Mm,
What were you doing? What were you doing? This is somebody
he's
who's supposed to be an
he's
all
not sure.
SEC potential All American left tackle. Buddy, let me tell you, you're not an All American anything. That was hot garbage. You could not play the position tonight, period. You were too slow off the break, off the ball, with your footwork, with everything. Multiple holdings that weren't called, a couple that were, one that was, multiple that were not, and
Yep.
probably should have been. Multiple sacks given up. Getting absolutely smoked off that edge repeatedly, putting DJ under duress, not doing your job. Terrible game. One of the worst games that I've seen by a tackle on this team in a long time, in terms of consistently just getting whooped, especially for a guy who's supposed to be that good. Now, when I see Camden Jones or Bryce Lovett having that happen, those guys are a lot less experienced than a fifth-year senior Austin Barber over there,
Sure.
who's supposed to be a rock on this offensive line and was a pebble tonight. That was absolute garbage. I'm sorry. I don't like calling out players like that. I really don't. But man, that's some of the poorest left tackle play I've seen in a long time. Yes, I understand. Very good pass rusher over there. I get it. But wow, it was bad. It was bad. And also, shame on whoever is responsible for upping that protection, that it was not done sooner, because he was getting beat all night, and it took until Lagway got smoked a couple times before we actually tried to
Hmm.
do something to help with the protection over there. That should have happened way earlier in the game and did not. But yeah, my impact player of the game is Austin Barber for all the wrong reasons. What do you got?
Nice one. And for the record, B, who makes the decision on that? I think it's the meme of the Spider-Man. Is it you? Is it you? It's you. It's you. And that includes Rob Sale, DeCoster, and Billy Napier. I rest my case, Your Honor. Um,
I mean,
so there's
it's
that.
up to DJ to change protections for blitz, but this wasn't blitz. I mean, this was just a guy getting beat, so that's not on DJ to change the protection for that. So yeah, I mean, you gotta call something that helps out with that. They did ultimately do something late in the game to try and help with it, but like it was
Too
too late.
late.
It was too late at that point.
Yeah, too
So
late. And so if you see that happening, if you've got two O-line coaches, this other staff, this other analyst, over here, and a partridge in a pear tree. Ideally, you go, hey, guess what? We should do something to stop that and keep our quarterback comfortable, because he seems to do
well,
better
and
when he's comfortable.
yeah, and for the record, I say they did something late, but then they didn't do something in the last drive. He gets beat by a different player, not even the same guy who was beating him all night, which, apologies, I can't think of the name right now,
Cassius
but
Howell.
a different, yes, thank you, Cassius Howell, who was whooping him all night. A different guy whoops him on the last play that results in the probable fumble by
Oh
DJ
gosh, no
that
replay.
ultimately ends the game. Couldn't tell you if that's actually a fumble because we got no replay, but or even slow motion on the replay that we got on ESPN. Once again, what are we doing? But
Thank you very little.
ultimately, yeah, ultimately that was still Austin Barber with no help. No tight end, no running back on that side, no assistance whatsoever. And once again, he gets smoked and DJ gets whacked. And there you go. So, anyway, moving along.
Yeah. So my impact player, believe it or not, I will go to the positive route. Number 8, Aaron Childs led the team in tackles, 9 total tackles, 4
Oh,
solo.
wow.
The
Nice.
team had a total of 70 tackles. He had almost 14% of the team's tackles. Good job, Aaron. Thanks for pushing through, doing what you do. And
Yeah,
that wraps it
fair
up
enough.
pretty much for our show. Outside of
Yes, it
that, B,
does.
what other final thoughts you have before You wrap us up and sign us off, my man.
Yeah, I think just, as we kind of said, a little bit expected. Not sure where we kind of go from here, in terms of, everything with Billy. We don't know the timeline on this. Rumors are swirling there. We'll talk more about that on Monday. Feel free to join us then, and we'll
Yes.
get into a lot more depth in terms of what we're hearing, what we're seeing, all of the rumor mill that is going to swirl and continue to swirl after this loss, because despite everything else and despite this game again being closer for a lot of it, we lost this
Yes.
game worse than we did in the Swamp last year. Now, that game was different because we were down way more and then came back late, versus this game we were down less and then lost more late, much like Miami, right? So
Yeah.
this game was a lot closer than the final score, as opposed to that game being a lot more distant than the final score. But ultimately, not a good look to get beat by this margin, right? This was yet another line that came down 2 points throughout the week. If you looked at
Yes.
Vegas, started at 8-5, came to 6-5, and then boy, nope, not at all. So, yeah, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think they're
Yikes.
going to wait because of some things with a lot of different stuff that's going on with rules and everything else. But we will see them again. We will discuss more on Monday night when we go through this. Any other thoughts from you before I wrap it up?
Not a whole lot of words. Frustrated, denial, anger, bargaining, acceptance. Nope, nope, acceptance is not there. So
Nope,
I'll let it.
not yet.
I'll
Not yet.
exactly. We'll let it rest for now, and we look forward to getting more therapy on Monday evening on our regularly
Yes,
scheduled podcast.
yes, indeed. Join us for therapy on Monday night. With that, we will
Deal.
sign it off for now. So wherever you are, whenever you may be listening, thanks for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.